drifted alarmingly in the betting was, Felsted in the morning continued to drift. It was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Buttons.
The ground is soft. It's not.
It's heavy.
It's soft on times.
It's heavy.
Okay.
Hello and a warm welcome. Yes, that time of year and that time of day of the week, the Sunday. It's the Barstew's Enquiry Sunday sermon. And after last week's barnstorming Xmas gift special, can we match it this week? I have my wine man bag and my Go Racing Yorkshire season ticket.
Oh, shit, the other one's good.
Yeah, and I'm ready to go again with my favourite two social media terrorists, you two, to give...
Dear. Don't say terrorists.
Hopefully another great show. Yeah, two Twitter terrorists to join me on this show tonight. John and Chris, good evening, chap.
Hello.
Sounds like the wine bag's nearly empty already.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, isn't it? There ain't one big enough for me.
I was going to say, the wine suitcase, don't it? Well, fucking bad.
Absolutely. Okay, cracking show we've got in prospect for you this week. Plenty to talk about, including some social media action, as well as the likes of the affordability check argument and debate about that. First of all, we'll come on to the racing review, where we will look at the weekend and hopefully decipher some performances for you going forward for this season. So, John, you were absolutely bouncing at the action this week.
Honestly, I hardly looked up from the ladder lane. Honestly, that good.
Saturday, we had a storm brewing all weekend. That obviously hampered Aintree and Chepstow, but we were left with Sandown and Wetherby. The brilliant premierisation model coming to the fore again, where Wetherby have to kick off at 10:30, leaving a sparse offering for the afternoon, but the BHA loved his game. Of course they do. And are sticking to their premierisation product, as we'll come on to later in the show. So we start off with Load of Sud, John, in the Henry VIII Novices Chase. Is this Cheltenham material? I think he's quoted at around 6-1 for the Arkle. Anything that floats your boat?
Well, sinks the boat rather than floats it, but he's going to the Arkle, isn't he? I mean, let's be fair. Let's not forget, he's owned by one lucky bastard. So... he could end up winning the bloody race. I mean, 6-1's Guinea, isn't it? When you've got really 2 months of Irish stuff to sort of...
Oh, that's it. We probably haven't seen half the Irish battalion coming out yet. And this is the thing. I don't think he's enough class for an Arkle, personally. But
for me, he's a 12 spoke at the minute, not 6.
I think some of the anti-post prices are laughable, to be honest, for the festival.
You'd think they'd already started going non-runner, no bet, wouldn't you?
He did what he had to do. In the main, apart from an early worry, he done pretty well. He's quite slick. Nothing to knock him. I'm just not so sure, barring the lucky owner angle, that he's genuinely that good or as good as what people sort of like.
Just touch me knocking down memory lane at West Hill Garden Elliott can rustle up. I'll tap on with him.
Yeah.
on the shoulder.
Yeah. Tingle Creek, Jambon, doing the business for Popeye. Doing it well, really. That's 5 from 5 at Sandown now. I do think Sandown's his track. I think he's quick, accurate jumping in the main. Again, he is prone to the odd blunder as well, like many of these champion chase horses are at the moment. But John did what he had to do. It was comfy viewing, really. But then Quilixios, if that turned up in champion chase, that would be 6,600 to 1, wouldn't it?
John Bon will probably continue to do what he needs to do up until Cheltenham, and then we'll turn up there and go off about 4-1, I would have thought. And probably fair one or two good.
It's one of them, though. Energumene ran today, Court, which we'll come on to in a sec. And obviously the horses yet to come out. El Fabiolo, is he going to be in the form that he was? This is it. There's lots of contenders that have a bit to prove. It's John Bon. I think he's the only one in the field that's probably, I won't say guaranteed to run his race if he jumps well. But I think it's 5-2, which makes no appeal to me at all. It doesn't. But he could end up much shorter than that if the sort of Irish challenge falters, because we've certainly got nothing over here to beat him. I don't think the 2 mile division is what it was, and we'll come on to that in a sec, because obviously one of the principal challengers ran at Cork today, so I'd like to get your view on that. Just to clarify that you enjoyed this weekend, because we had a Betfair Exchange London National on the Saturday.
Oh, you love these nationals.
Over an extended 3.5 miles, and of course Barstew's Edge Tipped Mr. Vanger to win that. I think we did it on purpose just to make John watch it.
Yes.
Absolutely guarantee to listeners that I had no input whatsoever into that selection.
In fact, when I put it out, I was laughing when I did, because John hates these kind of races.
Oh, when the email landed, I was like, oh.
What we did as a tipping service, we decided to wind John up even more by tipping up in the Borders National today, which wasn't successful, but nevertheless, John had to watch 7.5 miles of old chasers running round a field in bad ground, and there's nothing not to like when you make him do that. That was the start of the weekend, and the little fun we have anyway, which isn't a lot, as you can tell. Moving on to today, then we saw the re-emergence from a 2-year absence in Ergamine, who won the Hilly Way Chase.
Doesn't seem 2 years to me, but you know. Only seems 5 minutes.
His last race, wasn't it? He won the Punchestown 2 Mile Championship, didn't he? Beat Jacques and Poursois, and before that, he thumped Captain Guinness in the Champion. Is he back to his very best?
I think it's too early to say, isn't it? I mean, that was good today.
It was, but he is always about one massive blunder, isn't he? Like, he did most things so well. And when he gets it right, you can see how much ground he makes over his fences. Dino Blue, for example, couldn't live with his jumping at certain fences, and that was what he was making him ground. Then coming to the second last, he absolutely bellied it, smashed through it, and you thought, ooh, would we have known the outcome? Banbridge unseated the rider at the last, as that was firm contender. Given that Banbridge, that's not his best ground either, I don't think. I mean, I know it wasn't that tested.
No, quicker would help, wouldn't it?
He's a better horse on good ground. So, you know, in anti-purse market, do we have a look at maybe Banbridge for a champion?
What price is he?
So everyone's impressed with Energamine, knocked it right into 5-1. Gaelic Warrior's second favourite, 7-2. John Bond 5-2. Banbridge, I believe it's 33's Paddy Power Betfair. 25's General. Given that most fezzers, and I'm not saying all of them, because we've had soft ground, heavy ground festival last year, which I don't think suits him, I'll be honest. But if it turns up good ground, that's just enormous. Banbridge goes off what? Maybe 7 or 8-1 on the day, you think, John?
It's certainly not 33-1 we have a dry match.
No.
Is it? A dry match would see him bang in the picture.
We'll be all dead by March. It's all irrelevant, isn't it?
Well, I was hoping to hang on till April myself, but I don't know.
Yeah, Chris wants a max bet.
Yeah, now, today, this minute. I just want to unload and that's it.
So anyway, that's our views regarding the national hunt scene. Coming on to the flat scene, John, which is more your cup of tea. Shartin this morning in King Kong.
One Shartin, didn't it?
Shartin and, of course, Happy Valley, 2 Hong Kong tracks there that get great attendances, and Shartin today was packed to the rafters. I don't know how they go on pissing over there and shitting and things like that, but I don't think you could move looking at the crowd.
They don't go to piss or shit, though, do they? They just go to the racing. I would bet good money that no racegoers even consider a piss or a shit while they're at the races over there.
That's one of my boss's top tips. If you ever go to Fez or any big meetings,
don't follow you in. That's the top tip, isn't it?
Well, don't follow me in, because that's a really bad decision. And secondly, you have to unload before you go. Just do, because if you don't have to get up and queue idiots. And
oh, the humanity, Christ. Poor bastards in the queue. Spotting you in the queue, fucking hell. That's the day goes really bad then, doesn't it?
I often smile as I'm walking out and there's some suspected person on the other side. I even smile.
Oh, a right smile. Looking at the person behind you, he doesn't know what he's got in store.
Yeah.
I know something you don't.
Yeah. It's a great feeling to know that they've got to suffer badly. Anyway.
That's appalling. Carry on.
Shartin. So Giovanotto in the Hong Kong Vars today produced a very impressive performance. And we had a little chat this morning. Jack was really impressed with the gears it showed. He beat a very reliable yardstick in Due by Honour, who over there seems to find probably £7 on anything he does in this country usually. But Giovanotto absolutely just blitzed them, destroyed them. Oisin Murphy's come out and said it's down to him because he told Marco Botti drop the horse in trip and he'd be a better horse. I've got a different view, John, and I think you know what it's going to be. Ground.
Yes. The good old ground situation. Yes, and I would tend to agree.
And again, this highlights the problem we've got on flat turf racing to this day, as John has highlighted many a time, why he's campaigned for years for all racing surfaces to be artificial. I think Jack mentioned something like great in the Coronation Cup this. Well, the problem with the Coronation Cup is it still on the Friday, John? They haven't moved it, have they?
No, I don't think so.
Right, so if it's on the Friday, well, it's good to soft, isn't it?
Yeah.
At best. And the problem is, the penetrometers and stuff they use out in the East and Australia, 8.8 would be considered as good ground. Well, 8.8 over here, now considered as like firm.
8.8 here, they're broken in extra 2 hours ambulances, aren't they?
Yeah, you gain non-runners galore. This is a massive problem, isn't it? It's getting worse because traders, are they buying into that hype that the horse is going to get crippled?
Well, they do until they take that very same horse abroad, they run for a big prize and they don't give a flying fuck if it's rock hard.
Hence Fergie with the old Fay horse that's won in Bahrain and won that valuable pot. Are they worried at their sort of surfaces? I've no doubt they'll obviously water just like we do, but they're not watering beyond comprehension. Like you've said about Newmarket's racing surface at HQ in the summer, the July course is completely ruined. It's not a fair racing surface at all. And you've mentioned about tendons. Have we got any evidence or studies to say that
I don't know if you noticed this week, Lee, that the PHA have got involved with the Royal Veterinary College and they're doing a big research programme on welfare.
Uh-huh.
And one of the things that they're looking at is going.
Uh,
I was speaking to Matt Chapman this week, and I actually mentioned to Matt that any research that they do ongoing is going to be fatally flawed anyway, because they don't differentiate between watered and unwatered ground when they're recording going. Whenever they're monitoring injuries on good to firm ground, chances are it's good to firm watered, which could be a wrench tendon on loose top slough that's gone in the form book as good to firm, and it's actually advocating for you to put more fucking water on.
That's a great point. But then leading this sport, we'll not start slagging them now, we'll slag them later. If you haven't got the right people asking the right questions about data and everything else and recording data, how can you get accurate answers?
Trouble is, Lee, it's like the situation we found ourselves in. We try and ask the right question, and then the BHA looks at us as though we gang raped the Andrex puppy. You know, they take it so personal.
Yeah.
If they can only see that this comes with the best of intentions and we're actually trying to help.
Yeah.
We are good faith actors, honest brokers.
Andrex advert, it starts soft, gets strong, and ends up very, very long.
Yeah.
Gold.
If you remember that advert, anyway.
I do.
Images now. We're resorting to, terrible start to the show. But nevertheless, that's a great point, John. That's where we should be, and that's the right question to ask. That is exactly what I'd ask. Have you any data on the July course claims good to firm at 6.8? 4 seconds out of standard. In the racing official going description, that's the official. If they don't change it officially, then that's what's recorded. And we know it's not good to firm. It's not riding as good to firm.
Well,
so
when was the last time a meeting was held on the July course that wasn't on heavily watered ground? So has there been an injury on unwatered ground in the last 10 years on the July course? I would suggest not.
We've said before, horses in general are pretty smart creatures. If the ground's too quick for them, they don't let themselves down on it. They won't run any quicker because if it's hurting them or they're a bit jointy, it's like me and you, John. Well, we're not running anymore, but if we were running as younger ones and you got a bit of knee pain, you were on concrete,
you ease off, don't you? You're not in the habit of running through the pain, you know. But I think in the last 60 years, there was only ever Brendan Foster who ran through the agony. Everybody else had a bit of strength.
Brendan Foster. Great memories. I used to like his commentary, to be honest.
Did you?
I might be in a minority.
They were better than his efforts on the track, that's for sure.
Yeah. I used to like David Vine as well back in the day.
David Vine, Ski Sunday, wasn't it, as well?
Ski Sunday, Superstars,
when Kevin Keegan fell off.
Brian Jacks. When they had
Jacks.
They had a Superstars champion of champions. There were Brian Jacks, Daley Thompson, proper names. Jeff Hurst.
Man, that was bent in itself, wasn't it, letting Daley Thompson compete? Because, his event was different stuff.
Yes, quite.
But he still couldn't beat Jack.
Yeah, well,
No. He had the old parallel bars, didn't he? Old dips.
Mm.
He's a fucking legend at that, wasn't he? Christ almighty, Brian
With
Jackson.
squats and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christ.
So I think BBC
Unstoppable.
bent that for him to keep winning.
Crooked heat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All challenges suited Jack's, really.
Mm.
You know,
I
It was
always
good,
thought
that.
that looked quite easy, the dips on the parallel bars. And one time, believe it or not, I was actually in a gym back in my cricketing days.
Yeah.
I leapt up onto these parallel bars and had my arms perpendicular, ready to lower myself, I lowered down just past the point of where the fella used to hold his hand, where you had to dip and touch his hand.
You had to touch. Yeah.
And then just kept going and got off.
Yeah. No, quite. It's brutal. Absolutely brutal.
Honestly, John's right. It is. It's all brutal. What Brian Jacks did back in the day was amazing.
All on a gaffer.
Yeah. And if you younglings listen to this podcast don't know what the fuck we're on about right now, YouTube superstars and maybe do a grand final. What was beautiful back then, you get up top sports stars like Keegan and everyone having a go. Imagine trying to do that now on somebody that's on 400 grand a week in Premier League.
No
Trying to
chance.
get him doing
Pick him on a bike around the cinder track. Fucking jeez.
Yeah, like skinned your back open. Yeah, like Kevin Keegan did, didn't he? He ripped himself to shreds.
Right, racing question. Steve B's been on. Who do you think is the most unpopular national hunt trainer with punters? I reckon that farmer from the Cotswolds, or whatever it is, Dan Skelton. Who would be the most unpopular, do you think?
Of course, that's a packed heat, that one, isn't it?
I'm going to say it's competitive heat, that, isn't it?
Competitive. Yeah, 12 won the field. Yeah.
It's all personal preference, isn't it? To me and John, I reckon we'd probably both like the old kilt, wouldn't we? We wouldn't say Charlie Johnston, poor lad. We'd probably say Kilt Senior, wouldn't we, John?
Did he say national hunt trainers or trainers?
Oh, he said national hunt trainers. Oh,
yeah, see. Read the question.
He's fucked me there.
He's done you. Yeah.
Like leg stumps out there, Steve B.
Yeah, go on.
Right,
Yeah.
so national hunt trainers.
I think we talk to an awful lot of people that can't get Willie Mullins right, and they often chunter him out.
No.
But I think that's harsh, really, because it's not his fault. He has a lot of over-bet horses, really, because he's really good, isn't he?
I'm gonna say, from Barstew's perspective, I'm gonna say Pumpkin because he blocked us. And fuck him, absolutely. Fuck Ditchy, blocking Barstew. You're terrible. Yeah. You don't want to listen to real information. You want to listen to shit on the telly, all that shit. So you, Nichols, disgraceful man, blocking the Barstewards. Of course, one of the lesser, not totally shit podcasts on the interweb. John, have you got a thought then?
Outside of the Willie Mullins situation with a lot of punters, I haven't really. I mean, I must admit, I don't have a particular fondness for any of them, really.
No.
There's not many, is there?
I don't like... No, there aren't. Fergal O'Brien didn't send me a bit of fucking cake 2 years ago, so he can get in the bin. Remember, he used to tweet a bit of cake, and I know they all listen to it, so I want a bit of fucking cake. Aussies in the sea.
Yeah, their cakes are quite legendary.
Yeah, well, we wouldn't know. We didn't get any, did we?
Don't get sent out.
No.
And we give him a favourable mention on the show. That's it. We'd promote the O'Brien yard. Give us cake.
Yeah. But the only thing we never get sent writing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, letter bombs and shit. Yeah,
and legal
letters. Yeah, get plenty of them. Yeah, fucking straight in the bin. Yeah.
Going back to one of John's polls today, asked a question saying, "What's your favourite film genre when racing's abandoned?"
I heard it was all going to be off yesterday, and I thought, "Oh, smash it and watch your film," and then you went and booked the fucking nap in the bloody London restaurant.
So he said rom-com, comedy, action, or western, and it was like dominated by action at 38%, comedy at 34%. But Chris, I want to know: have you been trolling this account? 6.5 rom-com?
No, listen. This is a rubbish question because everybody knows the real category. It's pornography, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's the category that everybody resorts to. Well, other than myself, of course, but porn.
No, it's rubbish. No one does porn.
No, not rubbish.
No one.
Of course they fucking do.
No, that's lies. Don't read stats.
Arched back like fucking bad eyesight. So honestly.
Don't read statistics. Pornhub and RedTube are the most visited sites.
Right, it's ITV4 when racing's off. And that's it.
Yeah. I don't mind ITV4 when Minder's on, things like that.
Minders, yes.
All episodes of the Sweeney,
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. We move on now. That's Stewards on Tuesday. The big Stewards Enquiry, it involved Dubai Harbour. It carried the second across the track and hampered the third as well. Matt Chapman dragged out Fergus Sweeney to explain himself. He said, "No, nothing to see."
Now I bet the winner.
Yeah. Did you see that, and what did you make of it?
Well, if they're going to come to decisions like that, I don't really see why we've got stewards, unless they're only there to count how many smacks a jockey's dishing out. Because that can be their only function, can it? If a result like that's allowed to stand, well, fun for Audie Murphy because it's Wild West rules, isn't it?
I agree, and I think it was an easy disqualification. What do you think to jockeys being stewards?
Oh, absolutely hopeless, too close to it. You know, I mean, there's this school of thought that thinks, oh, you need to have a riding experience. No, you don't. You need experience of watching racing.
Exactly that.
Half the fuckers out watching what they're doing when they're going round riding.
No, that's true.
I went all Bob Lazar.
Yeah.
I went to the cupboard, got my tin foil and rolled it up and stuck it on my head. I come up with a little conclusion here that made me feel a bit uneasy and uncomfortable about this situation.
Yes.
In terms of winning trainer was Pat Phelan.
Yes.
So who's rode the most for Pat Phelan over the years?
Burgos.
Yes, by some way.
Yeah.
So how can you have
Yeah.
a situation where a winning trader in a Stewards Enquiry is being judged upon?
Well, if you didn't employ ex-jockeys, you wouldn't have it.
And Pat Phelan, you know, good trainer though he is, wouldn't have loads of opportunities to get horses on the, you know, past the post first. So you know, it'd be quite cruel to deny him, wouldn't it? If you're close to him, you'd be a real shit, wouldn't you? If you're pals with him.
In football, they do the best to vet referees and say, right, who do you
Yes.
support? It's right, yeah, I'm a devout Man United fan. Right, well, you can't referee Manchester United games.
Yeah.
So why is it then we can employ ex-jockeys that have had a career where a lot of his rides were for Pat Phelan? They obviously had a close relationship, given that Pat Phelan used it the most of any other jockey that he's ever used. All of a sudden, Pat Phelan keeps the race. I'm not insinuating anything. I'm just saying that it could be a bit of bias there.
Optics are terrible, and they love the optics, don't
Absolutely.
they? In sport? So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
There's your optics. Doesn't look good, does it?
We've discussed it on Barsters. We've highlighted something no one else will. And there you go. So, listeners, question that and say, should jockeys get in positions like that? Because let's say you get a situation in future. I'm sorry to use Ditchy again and Nichols. Let's say good old Meg gets a job as Ascot steward later in life, and Paul's still going.
Has she got time? All the other jobs?
I don't know what she's doing at the minute. I've no idea.
They always find time, John. They always find time.
Says she comes steward at Ascot. If Nichols bumps one and wins a short head, is she chucking her dad's horse out?
No.
I think as a family member, I think she would be advised by the States to stand down from the panel on the day. I know when people have sat on panels who've had history of shares in horses with people who were involved in inquiries, they sometimes get asked to stand or voluntarily stand down due to a conflict of interest.
But yeah, a jockey that could be very close to Pat Phelan, that's now steward. Do you see the? Do you see the sort of?
Yeah, that's exactly what he's saying. I don't think it's a good look, is it?
I don't think so. But again, they wouldn't know them stats. That's the thing. Again, you're dealing with idiots that run the sport because they haven't got a clue what day it is. Never mind to say, oh, Fergus, you happen to ride for Pat Phelan quite a lot during your career, and you were the most jockey to have ridden most races for Pat Phelan. So that you should stand down as well. You can't have a clear situation on this. Surely it's like he must be either, if he's not a personal friend, he might be being very kind to you during.
Yeah, well, he has been. I mean, he's given him a good living, isn't he?
I would suggest that it's difficult for a jockey to voluntarily stand down in these situations because I don't think Sweeney would have even known off the top of his head that he'd been the jockey that Phelan had used the most.
Probably not.
Well, no, he's had plenty of rides for him. Well, I wouldn't say he's going to say, oh, hang on a minute, I'm the most popular jockey with Pat Phelan when I was riding. I think that's tricky. And as I said, they're putting the jockeys in these positions by employing them in these roles. You're always going to get these sort of situations where they're ridden for somebody.
Absolutely. And that's it. The thing is, we'd never know during an inquiry what relationship that jockey had with maybe the trainer. Could even be an owner of the winner. They might be best buddies off the pit. That's the thing.
The thing is, if they chuck one out, you're pretty sure what sort of relationship they're going to have afterwards, aren't you?
That's racing. That's what you get with the media. If you slag a trainer, that's it. Ooh, they're done. So yeah, but we'll move on from that because it's one of them we don't know. Just pointing it out. If I was a police detective, the photos go on the board there for suspects. There is a connection, of course. Pat Phelan,
He'd say he was being fitted up, and you would have him down the station, rolled up in a roller line on, battering the crap out of him with his truncheon.
I want to see your phone. Have you been texting Pat during that inquiry?
Yeah.
Right, we move on. Serious issues now. Racing Press Awards, HWPA Awards, which is the Horse Writers and Photographers Awards of the year. Looked a lovely jolly up in London. 150 quid a head it was to venture forth. Blogger was there, watching all proceedings.
Yeah.
I don't think you got a lot for your 150 quid, but Chris wrote a fantastic article. It's available free via link on Patreon. It's on our racing Twitter, but you can go on our Patreon and view it for free. Honestly, one of the best articles he's done, and probably one of the best articles I've read this year.
It's very kind of you. Very kind.
Rob the Ripper, if he read it, he'd say it's terrible journalism and stuff like that.
Yes, quite right, yeah.
But no, honestly, it is absolutely fabulous. It made me smile. Well, not laughy smile, but just smile, because it's written with the intent of just showing these people for what they are. Rome burns, of course, in racing at the moment, as we all know.
Yes.
And these are guzzling champagne, patting themselves on the back for a job well done. I'm sorry, but Chris, am I right to say this thing is all wrong? The entire lot of them are bought by major bookmakers.
Totally tin ear. Look, we know that every industry has a sort of an end of year awards, whatever industry you're in. But this is an industry that has done precisely nothing to stand up to affordability or to stand up for the customer base. Now, it's a horse race writers award and broadcasters, but the question is, what are they broadcasting? And it's generally in support of the current status quo, which, as we know, is moving in one direction, and that's downwards. So I think it's just shocking that these people can sort of, what's the word, with no sense of irony or no sense of shame, say, "Oh, well done, what a great piece of work." Patrick Mullins has won Horse Race Writer of the Year. I mean, those actual people who profess to be journalists should be ashamed that they're not in the first three against him. This is a guy that has been nominated, not because he's particularly good, he's not bad, but he's got, he is one of racing's, bluest of blue bloods in the national hunt world, isn't he, from that dynasty?
Yeah.
And so, he's kind of parachuted in, and you just think, have you no shame? What about those people who are trying to, illuminate racing's grubbiest corners? Well, are there any? I don't know. Clearly there aren't. It's just a load of PR copywriters and bloggers, and I just thought it was a pretty appalling spectacle, actually, in the climate where we find ourselves. So I just, and you've got your man, newcomer of the year, Josh Stacey. I mean, look, that kid, I'm sure he's a very nice man, very pleasant. He knows fuck all about racing, and I'll go head to head with anyone on it. What he does, and what a lot of these pundits do, they use kind of certain phrases which they weave into their conversation, which gives the illusion of knowledge. So it'll be, "This chaser fills the eye," "a scrapping sort," "a strapping son of Wootton Bassett," or whatever, "lovely knee action, really fills the eye, Cheltenham bound, part of a stable packed with quality," and all these kind of phrases, all these kind of stock phrases they weave in, and when put together and carefully crafted, gives people the illusion they know what they're talking about. They don't. He wouldn't know which end the shit comes out of, I guarantee you. And that would apply to most pundits that are on, certainly on terrestrial TV and not terrestrial TV, but on the satellite channels and in the Racing Post. They wouldn't know anything, but they can convince, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man's king, and they've managed to convince people, "Oh yeah, he's an up-and-comer. He knows fuck all, absolutely nothing." And that's not a personal type. So, "Oh, he's a young kid." Look, this is a man who's had a head up in life. He's had a leg up. I mean, okay, he had a YouTube channel, great, but loads of people have had YouTube channels that have gone nowhere. Why have they picked him? It's because he enjoys certain contacts in life with the BHA that have actually kind of shoved him ahead. Now, they would say, well, if he was completely incompetent, he wouldn't, his career would fall at the first flight. Listen to him and listen to him closely, and you will reach the inescapable conclusion that he knows nothing, and yet he's newcomer of the year.
If you say the right thing
in the right order, yeah,
everything is great. If you're a racing journalist and you're likable, which Josh clearly is,
of course he is. It's not a personal attack. I'm sure he's pretty affable, but frankly, in the current climate, I mean, being nice to people doesn't have any effect, does it? It's no good. I mean, being nice has got us to where we are now. Everything's great. and it's going downhill. Listen, the point is, you could put me in an Irish point-to-point field, give me 2 hours of research, and I could stand in front of a camera and bullshit enough for half an hour to make people think he knows a little bit about Irish point-to-pointers. And I know fuck all, but all I would do is use the right phrases. I'd ask the right people, and there you go. Oh yeah, that was a strapping son. Oh, that's one of the best the O'Neills have got. Blah blah blah. Makes a great shape over a fence. I don't fucking know it makes a great shape, but it sounds right, doesn't it? It sounds as if I know what I'm talking about, and I don't.
John, what's your take of this week? Are you in agreement with Chris on all this?
Well, from somebody who generally tries to cobble a few well-known phrases together for his weekly notes, I sympathise somewhat with racing writers. I can't really counter anything that Chris says there because I've pretty much stopped reading articles now. I tend to read what Bill Barber puts out in the Post, the industry pieces. Anything else I just can't be bothered with, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because it really is just a mishmash of horsey phrases.
But it's such a low bar, John. That's my point. It's not a personal attack on him. I don't know the guy. I mean, my criticism could apply to any number of pundits, but because he was nominated, or rather jointly won the newcomer of the year, I've singled him out. But the point is, it's such a low bar, and the people generally in the media, they either don't know or they don't want to know that it's such a low bar to entry. You can bluff your way into this sport into quite a high level with knowing nothing. Literally nothing, as long as you can get the right phrases, strapping sort and all this old crap. It provides readers or viewers with the illusion that you know what we're talking about.
In the sport, though, Chris. I mean, we've just had a chair appointed to the BHA where they basically rewrote the requirements in order to have the job fit in.
You are right.
The original requirement was a broad knowledge of racing.
Broad knowledge. Okay, now that's a classic. What does that mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, even that was so much, so they altered it to a knowledge of the fact that racing exists. Or
knowledge that a horse exists. Yeah.
But are you aware of a sport called horse racing, and sometimes it's on the
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Well, welcome aboard. It's so imprecise. That's the problem.
And again, what would you rather read? Would you rather read Joshua Stacey, or would you rather read John with his note of the week? Lieutenant Main must be in the queue for a breathing operation after cutting out like a mangled dat.
Yes. Definitely.
That's what people want to read.
That's somebody that doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, isn't it? The horse to a mangled Datsun. That's terrible.
There you go. That's what you get with us. It's like it is on the tin. That's why we get listeners. If we didn't and people hated us, we wouldn't get listeners. That simple. So Luke Tucker's been on this after a week of headlines. Who is the Greg Wallace of race?
Greengrocer. Former greengrocer. Ooh, I don't know. I don't think we want to stray into that territory, do we? We're brave, but not that fucking brave.
What has Greg Wallace done wrong?
Well, he's been a little, in the current climate, he's been a sort of slightly muscular in some remarks he's made to women. He's a bit hands-on. I mean, some of the comments, you think, oh, fucking get a life. But turning up in meetings naked, except for a sock covering your penis and testicles, I think is probably over the line, isn't it?
I did hear it was one of them small trainer socks, if that's any.
Yeah, the one's ankle sock. Yeah.
All I'm saying is thank fuck any of these fuckers didn't live in caveman era. The women don't like to see the bloke it's overhead for his meat and then it's stolen.
Beg your pardon?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's one of them, innit? Times change, and I know we're in today's society, but Jesus.
He's quite crass, though. I mean, I know what you're saying, and I'm no fan of Greg Wallace, and I do think he's been slightly hard done by, but he's a fucking arsehole, because a lot of the comments he made, there wasn't a lot of humour as far as I can determine. People make those remarks humorous. A woman responds and says, "Oh, piss off, you dirty bastard," or whatever, and it's taken in the spirit. But I think his was slightly sinister. So I think that's my sense. These weren't jokey. These were propositions of quite an aggressive nature, which I don't think anyone should agree with, frankly.
I thought one of the funniest things he's ever done. He did this 24 hours in the life in one of the broadsheets one weekend. Special feature.
Yeah, a fucking gem. A gem.
And the lack of self-awareness was absolutely off the scale. He seemed to spend his entire 24 hours avoiding spending time with his autistic son.
But he was a historian who sat on the computer playing fucking Minecraft or whatever for hours on end, calling himself a historian. He's a ghastly individual. There's no doubt about it. And I've actually listened to some of his podcasts. He's got a brand of sort of self-improvement. He's kind of marketing himself as a self-improvement guru, and I've actually listened to several of them just for sheer devilment. And like the people he has on as his guests, who are all mates of his, are equally arsehole-ish. I mean, I don't really want to put money in his pocket, but anyone who wants to listen to a fucking knob, apart from this podcast, talk for an hour, I'd recommend you listen to Greg Wallace. He's just totally lacking in any kind of self-awareness. A ghastly person. Horrible.
Good stuff, John and Chris, on that topic. Like your opinion on that. We come on to Samuel the Cat, our resident feline. This week he's been involved in a spat with the old Racing Purse Twitter article where a chap called David, I've got his second name, he's the video editor of the Racing Purse, got into a little spat, and that's because Samuel the Cat was particularly highlighting the point that all the Racing Purse tipsters, etc., they do these shows, they have points on the selections, there's no recorded P&L, they just seems losers after losers, week after week.
Yeah.
And then this David obviously attacked him and said, it could be a her, we don't know.
No, it's a dude.
It's a dude.
It's
a dude. He got a little bit nasty, did a Twitter poll to say, who would you rather follow? Racing Purse tipsters or Samuel the Cat? I know, we talk about reading the room.
Who does that? I mean, it's like saying, all right, okay, out of all you women, who wants to have sex with me? Like, you're going to get none, are you? You know, I mean, it's so how stupid. And mind you, I've always found that to be the case anyway. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just look at that, you know what the answer's going to be. You know, who thinks I'm a cunt? Well, everyone's going to say you're a cunt, whether they think you're a cunt or not.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
But he didn't get that, did he, the fella?
No, it was a unanimous decision for Samuel the Cat, of course. And he made himself look an arsehole. And he still carried on slagging him off, saying you're just a Twitter nobody or something like that. Simon not got involved. The old mustard codes. He made his.
What was his point?
Was your opinion isn't as valid if you don't post under your real name. That was his point. Right, so he said that Samuel the Cat was just a nom de plume, so therefore his opinion.
How does he know he's not a cat?
Well, exactly, he's a pussy anyway. That's what I say. But the point is that that's what he said. That your opinions are worth less unless you post under your real name. And I think Dave Bradshaw made a point and said, look, there are various reasons why people don't want to sort of post under their real name or address.
Be in prison these days.
Well, yeah, it doesn't make their opinion less valid. I can see Simon Knott's point, but so Simon is part of the establishment, isn't he, in terms of the horse race writers and presenters? So pipe down, old bean.
I'm going to defend the tipping industry and also Racing Purse tipsters here, right? With a counter argument. Tipping is not easy.
No.
Absolutely not. The problem is they're painting themselves as experts, and
they're not.
They're
Are
not.
they, Lee? That's the point.
The journalists.
No, they're not.
It's not the best, is it? Johnny Deneen and stuff like that. They're okay.
They're betting journalists. They're betting journalists, aren't they?
Yeah,
essentially. But they, I don't know. Johnny Deneen, people say he's hugely successful. Don't know. But the rest wouldn't survive if they had to rely on betting income to support themselves. They'd go to the wall immediately, wouldn't they?
Absolutely. If we said, okay, come and sit with us, and you have to play every day and bet for a living on a day-to-day basis. None of them are going to do it because they're getting a salary. So why would you? You're getting a salary and a free stab at a winning tip to make yourself look good.
I don't think they've ever claimed, I mean, not sort of standing up for them, but I don't think they've ever claimed that they are professional punters. It is their opinion, and okay, they're kind of, they probably should do away with the point system because that encourages people to keep records. But it's no different, I suppose, from a football show saying who do you think's going to win, and I think fucking Spurs will win or whatever. It's that kind of preview, isn't it? Really, I think if you got rid of the point system and the best price and just gave an opinion, I think it'd be less problematic.
P&L should be recorded though for me. Otherwise, what's the worth of a point? If you say 1 point,
that's why I said do away with the point system. Then it's just an opinion. And look, if you want to follow them in, great. If not, then don't. But I do think if you're putting points, you're right. They should record it. But if I were them, I'd do away with any points and all that crap.
I think that's what punters have got to realise as well, that these Racing Purse, including Time Fob, who have just recently quit their jewellery service because they've not recorded a profit in a couple of years. Yeah. They go out at a tough time, so I'm going to defend these people because it's not an easy time to go out at 11:15 after everyone's picked the bones out of every price going. But at the same time, A lot of these Timeform employees appear on racing TV or at the races, Sky Sports Racing, or they have journalist roles. I'm sorry, but you're not professional gamblers. That needs to be sort of said.
No.
If you're a professional gambler, you're a professional gambler. Like Hugh Taylor's column is hugely successful in terms of goes out early, he gets the walls
Gets
ices,
the best of it, doesn't they?
but he's still good, and I respect Hugh Taylor. At the same time, he's an absolute pain in the arse to people like us that are trying to make a living tipping, because obviously Hugh Taylor's selections often clashes with ours on the flat, and that means we can't give that to our people. But that's a competitive game. That's the nature of the beast, and we accept that. We do moan about it a bit, but it's like, oh, we've got one today, and then Hugh tips it up at 9:15, and then we're doddled up. But that's how it is. Tipping's difficult, guys, as well. So please, whilst I'm on Sam the Cat's side, because I think he does a good job in highlighting this stuff with the media, I've got to say that tipping is a ridiculously hard thing to do. The pressure you're under when you've got punters that are paying you money to make them win money, you feel a responsibility towards them. Maybe these guys don't feel a responsibility because they're getting a salary. That's the thing. When we do it, when we're doing it, we feel a responsibility. We feel their pain, don't we? It's like, oh God, we've let you down there with that one. Or that was a bad pick.
Because we probably don't want bollocks ourselves.
That's it. Yeah, exactly that. It's heart on the sleeve stuff. And I don't believe some of these podcasts they do it, heart on the sleeve stuff. They don't care if this horse runs shit or whatever. And I think that in itself says where all that thing is. But Sam the Cat, you're a legend on that. And we'll always support you because you're a great supporter of this podcast as well. On to a very serious subject before we finish with some funny questions. Affordability checks. This week's been a big week for it, really. We saw an attack from Martin Cruddas regarding the Gambling Commission and their approach to affordability checks and how it's cost racing a lot of money. There's a big black hole in racing of so much money. This has led to racing essentially being in trouble long term. And Cruddas made a lot of great points. And Andrew Rhodes, the head of the Gambling Commission, then issued a response which was typical chunky journalist civil servant speak. I don't even believe it was written by him. They basically turned around and said that this is inaccurate, this is unfair on the Gambling Commission, we haven't mandated checks. If they haven't mandated checks, affordability checks yet, then why are they fining bookmakers for social irresponsibility? It's so vague, all this shit. When you look at the BHA, they this week have refused to come out and condemn the Gambling Commission as they won't criticise another regulator. Greg Swift, another idiot, was asked for a response on racing's big black hole caused by declining turnover on the sport, caused by affordability checks. And he said premierisation would help solve the problem.
Sweet jeez.
That was his exact words. And this is what we're dealing with. And the problem is, Andrew Rhodes' responses, Greg Swift's responses, these are responses that, to me, either they're all in on it or they're absolutely fucking clueless. And I'm still trying to work out what it all is.
It's 5 to 6 each of two, isn't it? You're not sure. I mean, I might change my opinion every week as to whether they're clueless or whether it's part of a big cover-up. I'm not sure. I really don't know. It's just that their responses are increasingly bizarre and detached from reality. Very odd.
To add to this, so ITV, I'm going to give kudos here to Matt Chapman because I don't know if he was behind this or he was allowed to do it. You never know what's behind ITV editorial content, but they got Nevin Truesdale on, who's stepping down from the Jockey Club, on the opening show on Saturday.
Yeah.
Whilst it was really good listening, and I thought Matt was very probing in his questions.
Yeah.
Nevin Truesdale gave the responses. Again, there's been a big thing this week about blaming the Gambling Commission, from the BGC, from Cruddas to Nevin Truesdale, blaming the Gambling Commission, saying that they are there to prohibit betting rather than sort of regulate betting. And it's a fair point. On the outside, it's a fair point. One thing I would say, John, why has Nevin Truesdale, who's stepping down, not been very vociferous before this?
Well, he's but one voice, isn't he? And they like to all sing from the same hymn sheet. And I think we've only seen that from Nevin Truesdale yesterday because he's going. There was a little bit of breaking ranks in there, wasn't there? And telling it like it is, which, let's face it, it's been in terribly short supply from the BHA since all this farrago began. Personally, I thought it was very telling when Richard Hoyles climbed out of his Allegro and delivered a crushing,
Remove the string back driving gloves and the slip-ons. Yeah.
blow to punters everywhere if they were listening carefully, because he said racing hasn't noticed because the figures have been adjusted thanks to increased bookmaker margins. Because let's not forget, folks, gross profits tax means that if there's a shortfall, the word goes out to screw the punters further.
Yep.
Bookmaker
Amen to that.
profits are what drives
Yep.
this at the minute. Bookmaker profits have no business driving this sport whatsoever. I said when it was brought in, and I'll continue to say until they put a fucking lid on me, it is morally reprehensible that this sport is funded in that way.
Right. Okay. I'm going to come on to why we are here. This is my view alone, but I think that I'm right and I won't budge on it. Punters were rinsed back in the day. They had VIP managers at bookmakers that they rinsed vulnerable players by offering them massive deposit bonus to play on slots. In other words, gambling addicts that were rinsed, will you come back and play? Deposit 2,000, we'll give you 1,000 bonus to play on the slots.
Mm-hmm.
That was the sort of tactics used. That's why the regulator stepped in, because of all the rinsing. There was so much rinsing back in the day. And this is what's annoying me right now. Because have you noticed Cruddas attacks the Gambling Commission? Nevin attacks the Gambling Commission. All the attacks are on the Gambling Commission. What got us here? 300-year heritage sport where lords and ladies stood in a field and raced against each other, maybe for private bets, has turned into a world-class sport and now obviously is regressing, against a 15-year smartphone project developed by big corporations to develop casino products and quick gambling sort of fixes, if you like. How all of a sudden have racing been dragged into this? It is a horrendous aberration. There is only one way racing can survive this. Chris Fawcett, who's tremendous, by the way, does great work on stats. I use a lot of his stats on this show. He's wrong on this. You should not back Big Corp. Big Corp are the issue here. Rhodes is going out. He's a sacrificial pawn right now. They don't want him. It's like the Wizard of Oz. When he goes, ding dong, the witch is dead. When it's not, everyone celebrates and think that's the liberation of racing. It's not. Big Corp are shoving everything they can in the way of the golden goose, which is the casino. We need to get the target off racing's back. We need racing to survive on its own 2 feet. And when 2026 comes and the media rights, etc., that's the vision. Not to go back into bed with these varmints that have absolutely destroyed our sport, which is Big Corp. It isn't the Gambling Commission. A civil servant, in essence, can he dominate Denise Coates et al.? Protest profusely at affordability checks. Why are they screaming a bit now? They're trying to protect the casino. They need people to be addicted to these things. Racing is not about that. It's a sport. And this is where it should be segregated. It has to be segregated to survive. If we do not go down that path, racing will be finished.
And for me, the funding model has to change then, Lee, as well, because if it's to stand on its own as a sport, you can't be inextricably linked to bookmaker profits.
No, we talked about the utopia that apparently is a fantasy to some people. But why is it fantasy talk? Anyone in government could have stepped in, bought the tote. They've run about nationalising fucking railways and all sorts. Well, nationalise the tote then and make sure the tote provides for racing, right? For starters, you've got an in-house tote, and then you have an in-house exchange where horse racing punters can freely bet unaffected by affordability shit and stuff like that. And by the way, if you think we're talking shit here, wait till it gets to February 28th. If you lose 150 quid, it is acceptable to check your bank accounts and request information on your banking status, everything, because you've lost £150 over a 30-day period. Can you believe that?
It's embarrassing.
It's £5 a day, the cost of a racing person. Whilst I welcome all this from ITV and stuff, they're very late on the subject, but look, they've done it. This is going to get really bad before it gets better. The only way forward is to get rid of casinos from racing. Why are we sacrificing a 300-year heritage sport for online casinos and people chucking loads of spins out at 3 a.m.
And it's not even a real product. It's a digital product.
Yeah.
It does not exist.
No.
It has no look, feel. You can't touch it. You can't taste it. You can only interact with it through a screen. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It is simply a what's the word? It's a confection, and yet we're prepared to sacrifice a sport that employs tens of thousands of people, provides enjoyment for hundreds of thousands of people. It's been going on for over 3 centuries. It's part of the fabric of British society, and yet we're prepared to go shoulder to shoulder with digital casinos. We must be literally mad.
Because the people in key positions that are supposedly batting for racing are going into negotiations with Big Corp, negotiations with the RCA, negotiations with any other relevant parties, and they're behaving like nodding dogs. They're not driving the sport forward. They're not interested in growing the sport. They're certainly not interested in a thriving betting market that's growing, because they are looking at the bottom line all the time and what the bookies are making. They don't think there's another way because the bookies have told them.
I can't understand why everyone now is going for gambling commission. Let's say Rhodes is corrupt. Who's corrupted him? Is it the gambling harm lobbies or is it Denise Kurtz? The biggest fine that company's received is £3 million. You don't have to be Sherlock here to work this out.
He's out of his depth, Lee. I mean, I know loads of civil servants. I was a civil servant for 20 years. And look, civil servants are very good at administering things. They're good at keeping existing structures going and tipping away. And, I've got a lot of respect and time for civil servants because, they're the ones that ultimately keep the bins emptied and the country flowing. But the point is, when you ask them to go into negotiations with commercial enterprises, they are completely out of their depth. I'll give you an example. Revenue and Customs years ago negotiated a contract to have outsource all its IT infrastructure to Fujitsu. And one of the line items in the contract was every time someone picked the phone up to Fujitsu and rang the help desk and said, "Oh, I'd like, I can't log in, I've got my password," that would generate £1,000 bill from Fujitsu for them simply to reset your password. And and that wasn't as a result of any corruption. It was just simply that the people negotiating the contracts are civil servants by inclination and training, and they don't know. And that's the point. And so, it's hardly surprising that any of these quasi public bodies, when they're going head to head with bookmakers, they're going to get eaten alive. That's the problem. You're fighting. You're not. It's no parity of arms, and that's they're always going to get bent over the desk.
And that's what's happening right now.
Yep.
My solution: it's time for racing to stand up for itself and distance itself from online casinos. It's that simple. Nothing to do with us, that. Why is racing got anything to do with people betting in a casino, which is clearly the most barometers of harm gambling going forward? People aren't suffering from harm in racing. It's casinos that does it.
Even the gambling harm stories, Lee, sorry to cut across you. You look at the vast majority of these people that have kind of reinvented themselves as professional victims are all the sorts of people that have ruined their lives through playing online casinos or the electric heroin machines in betting shops. Very, very few have said it's actually horse racing that caused the problem. Very few. And yet, horse racing has allowed itself to be dragged into this argument.
Time for a change of direction, racing. Are you listening? You need some different direction. And if people say and slag me off and say, well, it's not going to work, and this, that, and the other, well, enjoy your current gruel, because the current path and the current support that you are supporting isn't working. Time to challenge these big bookmakers and make them squirm. Moving on to some fun topics now. Bar Stewards' weekly top life tips. A new section for us, this. I think it's a great section because listening to our cookery programme, and it weren't me, it was John and Nick really doing it on Patreon with some absolute top cookery tips. John, what is this week's top life tip?
If you're following a recipe in a cookery book, and you need the recipe on display all the time, how many times when you're in the kitchen does the book flop shut and you're looking for the recipe again? If you take a coat hanger that's used to hang pants up that has the clips on either side, clip the book open with the clips on the hanger and hang the actual hangy part on the cupboard door in the kitchen, and you've permanently got it on display when you're doing the recipe.
Look at that. Home Chef John with the coat hanger tip. Chris?
My tip for life is don't fucking bother. Ain't worth it. That's my tip.
Well, that's why you do
Don't
the
fucking
low
bother.
life column. I mean, it's
Yeah,
what it
do
is.
what you want.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose my tip was that the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah.
So I'll go out to any younger listeners, careful about being a people pleaser, because there's no upside to it in the long run. So just do what you want to do, as long as it's for the right reasons and it works for you. Just fucking do it.
Yeah. Chris, do you like fishing?
No, I fucking hate it. Boring. Don't like golf. Don't like fishing.
Fucking hell.
Don't like a lot, really. Why should I say yes? Yes, I love.
But you should just be ahead, really, shouldn't you?
Yeah, I should
All
be,
people's got to buy you at Christmas is a hat.
Yeah, cryonically frozen. Yeah, exactly. Like Walt Disney. I should be cryogenically frozen so they find a cure for being miserable.
Yeah.
I'd rather doubt that.
Okay, mine is this, and I think this is a really good shout because it'll save you loads of time in life, optimizing your time at your desk or in work life. I stumbled on Jeremy Wade's River Monster. This has to be top tip, really. I mean, Jeremy Wade fishes for these massive 48 stone fish, doesn't he, round the world?
Yeah.
Blue marlin.
Yeah,
and all
get
that
them out of
into it,
rivers.
yeah.
These fearsome
Yeah.
fish that have took natives and eaten children from the shores. The best tactic for this is, to me, if it starts, say, on the hour, go in 48 minutes in. Because all Jeremy says for 48 minutes, how he's luckless. Oh, no bites here.
It's like me.
Yeah,
No luck at all.
fucking
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
Absolute shit, this. He meets the natives. They tell him how dangerous this
Yeah.
fish is, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then in the last 10 minutes, he catches one. Forget the first 50. It's complete bollocks.
You're not big on foreplay, are you? Really?
Not really. It's just total shit. You just want to see him land this fucking big monster. A great life tip. That's saving you probably 48 minutes an episode.
To do something else.
Yeah, to do something else and enjoy the last 12 minutes when he captures this big fucker out of this fucking Vietnam River. It's fantastic. That's my life tip. What we voted as weekly best life tip out of three of us?
I think the fish one, to be honest.
Yeah, it's got to be in there.
You're saving time there. You can
depressing.
actually do the work on the recipe afterwards with the 48 minutes.
Yeah.
Exactly that. So John's cooking. Then he goes on 48 minutes in to watch him catch this big fucking 48 stone catfish that eats people.
What if you don't like anything to do with fishing? I mean, I'm sure that some of the listeners will hate fishing as much as I do. What are we going to do?
Don't watch it.
Well, exactly. Well, we've saved the whole hour then. That's a better tip, isn't
I'm
it?
saving 48 minutes for fish people. But no.
Yeah, but technically, Chris, you haven't saved the whole hour because you were never ever scheduled to watch that, were you? So
That's true, actually. Yeah, no, that's a very, very good point. All right, yeah, so
Right.
shall withdraw the point.
Two to go. Producer's been on. She's terrible.
Yes.
Do you ever get piss fright?
what's that?
Stage fright, isn't it? Yeah.
You like bust into piss but then can't piss when you go. And if
Ah,
so, where's the worst place it happened?
Anytime someone stands next to you in the urinals of a pub
Yeah.
and makes eye contact, I can't piss. I'm so frozen with fear.
Yeah.
What's going to happen next? Because you don't talk to other men in the toilets, do you?
No.
That's the thing. Nobody does. And if anyone was to talk to you or to even look in your direction, I can't piss.
No.
Honestly, can't do it. So yeah, that would be me.
Yeah. John.
I don't think I've ever had it.
John, you piss like a fucking
He
horse.
just wets himself though, isn't he? You got a bag though.
I can tell listeners now. I don't know if you want to know it. He fucking pisses like it's fucking. That's it.
Oh,
So I've spoiled that for you. I've spoiled the episode already.
yeah.
Me, there is a bit of a story to this. So,
Go on.
1991, Wembley Stadium. We
Fucking
played Manchester United in the League Cup final. It was before, obviously, Wembley was redeveloped. And the pissers were overflowing. No one could go in the pisser because it stank. And I think the plumbing was blocked and piss was rolling out of the toilets. So everyone's pissing outside the toilet. As an 18-year-old, I'm a bit unnerved, but I've never done this. It's like, I was busted. What do you do? So I'm pissing up the wall outside the pisser, but I couldn't piss because I'm not used to this sort of thing. And then all of a sudden, this gang of Sheffield Wednesday lads walked down, were chanting this song playing at Wembley, this and the other. And I managed to piss.
Fucking
This carried forward.
right.
In the months ahead, I'd stop at service station. I was busting and couldn't piss. I just think that was psychologically harmed me. I used to sing that song in my head. Then I'd piss.
Oh my God.
And still to this day, I sing that song in my
Have
head.
a little sing song.
I do.
Fucking hell. What do you sing when you have a shit, or don't you need it? You don't need that. You don't need a song for that.
No, but that is a true story. That I still do it to this day.
Yeah, God.
I was scarred by that.
I think we all are listening to
Yeah.
that. Yes.
Sorry, so that was it, producer. Thanks for that. Absolute.
Yeah, lovely.
Varmint,
Nice
varmint
question.
cheers.
Terrible.
Samuel the Cat, of course, to finish the show. Bar stewards did the 12 days of Christmas last week, but they created 12 initiation tests for experts to become a true bar steward. What sort of
Yes.
twisted tests would you make people do? Anything goes, like making people like a Morris dancer for a day or go to a Rent-A-Ghost convention. Imagine fancy getting stuck in a lift on the way to a convention with Timothy Claypole, Hazel McWitch, Hubert Davenport, and Dobbin. That'd be quite chilling, Chris.
Well, I would have a system of tithing where people have to pay me every week for like 12 months, and the attractive women have to suck me off every week. That would be my system of initiation. That'd be it. I'm being serious.
Yeah,
I'm being
I can believe
serious.
you are, right.
Yeah, what are you on about? Yeah.
The Morris dancers frightened Catherine Fry badly.
Well, she's easily frightened, isn't she? She doesn't get out much sunlight, does she, in John's basement? So, John's cellar.
She can't have Morris dance. No. Terrible people. It's like them that turn up at banjo clubs on a weekend.
Trad jazz bands that walk round race course. I hate that. I like jazz, but not that old shit. Those blokes with like stripy waistcoats and tubas and trombones. Yeah, I'm with her on that. And
Sam the Cat, the one thing I would have an initiation to be a bar steward is I'd take you to a race course one day and you've got to have a very uncomfortable steak on a horse, a really big one, because you have to feel it. You have to feel the adrenaline.
The full 80 pence, the full 80p, honestly, yeah.
Feel the adrenaline, either doing it in or winning.
Yes.
Because that's what gets you into racing. The only thing that gets you into racing and betting is adrenaline. People get adrenaline from watching a great horse, maybe no bets on it, but just watching a great horse win a race like Frankel or a Galopin de Champ. They get adrenaline from it. I want a true bar steward to feel proper adrenaline. I like it, Chris. If I say privately, this is a maximum and you've got to have the lot on and you stretch yourself.
I do, yeah, no, that's true. And that's what makes you feel alive, doesn't it, really? But I still prefer being sucked off and being paid money every month. I think that's a better initiation. But I'm with you on...
To be a true bar steward, you have to have a bet that absolutely either fucks you for a bit, can't eat for a month, or you're dining very well. That's important because that schools you in gambling. John,
could there be a situation where I get sucked off while I've had a Weetabix juice in bed?
Yes, there is. That's our platinum membership. Yeah, platinum membership. Yeah.
Either that, or I would send prospective bar steward out onto the mowers and only with an Austin Maxi and tell them to bring me tea back.
Yeah.
You'd expect some finest lamb, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'd expect something in that ilk. Yes.
Yes, that's good. That I like that.
Great question, and I think that's all to finish the show. We've definitely overshot this week, but we've enjoyed it. That's me, John, and Chris signing out for now. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye for now.